mean, I think a lot of people are saying, no, I just don't want you grooming my kids for whatever your ideology is.
Yeah.
Whether it's a right-wing ideology or a left-wing ideology, I want you to teach them fucking science.
Yeah, there's a
Teach 'em math.
responsibility here.
Is there a not-so-secret gay agenda? And what is the Don't Say Gay bill? Hey guys, my name is Jason Wesley, and this is not a podcast. Now, this is part one of a part two episode. So there's a bill in Florida that's been named the Don't Say Gay bill by opponents, and it's been catching a lot of heat from leftists, elites in Hollywood, and people that don't know anything about the bill other than the name of the bill, which is actually called HB 1557, Parental Rights and Education Bill. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis was asked by a reporter about the bill.
What critics call the Don't Say Gay bill is on the Senate floor.
Does it say that in the bill?
Know that you support.
Does it say that in the bill?
I'm
asking you to tell me what's in the bill because you are pushing false narratives. It doesn't matter what critics say.
Hold on. It says it bans classroom instruction on sexual identity and gender orientation.
For who? For grades pre-K through 3. So 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds. And the idea that you wouldn't be honest about that and tell people what it actually says, it's why people don't trust people like you, because you peddle false narrative. And we're going to make sure that parents are able to send their kid to kindergarten without having some of this stuff injected into their school curriculum.
Gabrielle Union gives her racist response as well.
I think there was, I don't want to say shock because hatred doesn't shock me at this point. I've been a black woman in America since '72. Nothing shocks me, but the fear that gripped me because I know what this leads to. You know what I mean? We've lived through, every moment in history there has been this moment. We know how this ends. We know where hate and oppression lead. And it can start now with the LGBTQIA community, but if you think that that it's just a them problem, oh baby, you're next. So corporations who could really truly make a difference and take a stand, not fund it, if you're gonna take the stand and be all about diversity and inclusion, and it's not just about black boxes after George Floyd died, you need to actually put your money where your mouth is. And you can't stand against hate and oppression and fund hate and oppression. That doesn't work.
Even the Oscars opened up the awards with Wanda Sykes, Amy Schumer, and Regina Hall mentioning it.
We're gonna have a great night tonight, and for you people in Florida, we're gonna have a gay night. Gay.
Raven Simone decides to give her 2 cents as well.
Well, I am a part of the LGBTQ plus community. We have a lot of diversity on our set as well. And I'm going to say this, and this is my thing. If there's a Don't Say Gay bill, there should be a Don't Say Straight bill. Because it's not fair. And there are multiple kinds of humans in this world. And you are ruining the psyche, the confidence of so many young children because you are discrediting their parents, the people they love, the people that raise them, the people that teach them the manners when they walk into that schoolroom. So if you're not going to honor their family, your family shouldn't be honored either. So let's just make it even/equal, maybe.
Now, Raven, I can tell you didn't read the bill like many other people, but there's no sexuality to be discussed with children regardless of straight or gay. That's equality. And some teachers are now fearful of this parental rights and education bill.
That's what we do as educators. We build relationships with our kids. And in order to build relationships, you talk about your home life. You talk about what you do on the weekends. That's building community. It scares me that I am not going to be able to have these conversations with my children because they're going to ask me what I did on the weekend. I don't want to have to hide that my partner and I went paddleboarding this weekend because then they ask, well, what does partner mean, Mr. Bernard? And, I'm worried, can I tell them what it means?
Comms Director Kate Bedingfield of the White House says that the bill will have a tragic impact on children and that President Biden says DeSantis is targeting students.
Education Secretary Miguel Cardona said the administration would be monitoring its implementation to evaluate whether it violates federal civil rights law. Aside from monitoring the Florida law, is there any other actions that the White House plans to take?
Both the president and Secretary Cardona spoke out very forcefully against the law. The president also put out a statement yesterday about the tragic impact of this kind of law on incredibly vulnerable population. And he said that, by signing this bill, the governor has chosen to target some of Florida's most vulnerable students and families, all while under the guise of parents' rights.
Again, the bill doesn't say "don't say gay" anywhere in it, but ignorant people will continue to say that it does. Mainstream media will call it "don't say gay" without ever referencing the actual name of the bill or give a link for people to read it. The Florida legislature has passed the "Don't Say Gay" bill, which Governor Ron DeSantis is expected to sign into law. Florida's governor signs controversial law opponents dubbed "Don't Say Gay." And while we're talking about it, what does the actual bill say? Now, I'm not going to read the entire bill here. You can do that. I'll leave a link in the bio. But further down on the bill on page 4, I think this is the part where people are most upset about. Although I think most of the people that are upset haven't read the bill, but classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. I've read the entire bill. Nowhere in the bill does it say "don't say gay, lesbian, trans, or even the newer orientation, furries." You think I'm joking.
Hi, Vicki. I have grandchildren in the Wanakee School District. They have been instructed not to take pictures of, make fun of, stare at, or in any way call out the behavior of their classmates who are furries. The furries can choose whether they want to speak or not. The furries are allowed to dress in their choice of furry costumes. The furries can choose not to run in gym class, but instead sit at the feet of their teacher and lick their paws. Barking, hissing, and other similar animal noises are commonplace in the hallways at school. The children have been told that the furries are an identity and they must treat these children normally, and the school administration and teachers have normalized the behavior of the furries in their school. I am appalled. Now, lest you think this just might have been somebody who was trying to, punk us, multiple parents reached out to me after I read that email on the air and said, this is real, it is happening. Kids are permitted to declare themselves furries as an identity, and they are then protected. In their behavior is protected. For those of you who don't know what a furry is, furries are people who identify with and believe in some capacity they are furry animated characters.
Vox, so what is a furry then? In the broadest sense, a furry is someone with an interest in anthropomorphized animals, that is, animals who have been given human characteristics like an ability to talk or walk on their hind legs. Oh, so like, I don't know, a panda, like the one from the Disney movie Turning Red. Surveys suggest that furries are overwhelmingly male and white, are disproportionately likely to be gay, bi, or trans, and skew younger with an average age in the mid-20s. And speaking of the new Disney movie Turning Red, I'm not going to get into the amount of agenda I saw in the movie, but the part that bothered me the most was the little girl hits her mom in the face and almost kills her.
I'll never be like you!
Now, I was expecting a moment of repentance or something after her mom almost died, but there wasn't. Okay, if you want to be a panda and take on the spirit and fight off the enemies, and I'm not talking about the enemies like the Tinder swindler, go right ahead. You almost killed me, no apology. Cool. The little girl was 13 years old. Now, one of the Disney executives openly and proudly stated her not at all secret gay agenda.
They have been a huge, informative part of my life, but at the same time, I worked at small studios most of my career, and I'd heard, you hear whispers. I'd heard things like, they won't let you show this at a Disney show. And I'm like, okay. So I was a little sus when I started. But then my experience was bafflingly the opposite of what I had heard on my little pocket of Proud Family Disney TVA. The showrunners were super welcoming. Meredith Roberts and our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And so I feel like I felt like it was, maybe it was that way in the past, but I guess something must have happened in the last they are turning it around, they're going hard. And then all that momentum that I felt, that sense of I don't have to be afraid to let's have these two characters kiss. Let's in the background. I was just wherever I could, just basically adding queerness to if you see anything queer in the show, I'm proud of them. But I just was no one would stop me, and no one was trying to stop me.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child, and also as a leader. And that was the thing that really got me, because I have heard so much from so many of my colleagues over the course of the last couple of weeks in open forums and through emails and phone conversations. And I feel a responsibility to speak, not just for myself, but for them, to all of us. We had an open forum last week at 20th, where, again, the home of really incredible, groundbreaking LGBTQIA stories over the years, where one of our execs stood up and said, we only have a handful of queer leads in our content. And I went, what? That can't be true. And I realized, it actually is true. We have many, many, many LGBTQIA characters in our stories, and yet we don't have enough leads and narratives in which gay characters just get to be characters. And not have to be about gay stories. And so that's been very eye-opening for me. And I can tell you, it's something that I feel perhaps had this moment not happened, I as a leader and me as my colleagues would not have focused on. And going forward, I certainly will be more so. I know that we will be. And
now Disney won't say, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
And Disney is doing away with gendered greetings throughout the park and resort. Gone are ladies and gentlemen or boys and girls. Instead, cast members who recorded messages will use hello everyone or hello friends.
So now Disney's coming after Ron DeSantis in Florida in response to the parental rights and education bill.
And for Disney to come out and put a statement and say that the bill should have never passed and that they are going to actively work to repeal it, I think one was fundamentally dishonest, but two, I think that crossed the line.
Disney says that they're going to try to get the law repealed, even though no one from Disney tried to stop the bill when it was being passed.
I talked to the Speaker of the House yesterday afternoon, and he said Disney never called him while they were putting this through the House. They didn't seem to have a problem with it when it was going through. If this was such an affront, why weren't they speaking up at the outset? And yet they won't.
But now Florida Governor Ron DeSantis is taking a look at repealing certain privileges.
Ron DeSantis says he supports stripping Disney of its special status, which allows it to operate as an independent government around its theme park. Disney has had this status for 55 years, but it's coming under fire by the governor after the Walt Disney Company announced its goal to repeal the recent controversial parental rights and education bill, widely known as the Don't Say Gay bill. It was just signed into law by the governor on Monday.
My view is we should just treat everybody equally. We shouldn't let one company have their own set of rules compared to everybody else. And I think they've been able to sustain this because they've had a lot of clout for many, many decades.
Now, why is there an agenda for kids? It's because they don't believe that your children are yours. They believe your children are theirs to indoctrinate. Now, if you point out that they're being indoctrinated, they'll tell you, well, no, they aren't. And when you show them proof, they'll say, well, why do you even care anyway, you bigot?
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Here's a teacher in California that believes kids should pledge allegiance to the pride flag.
She jokes about pledging allegiance to the pride flag rather than the American flag.
We do have a flag in the class that you can pledge your allegiance to. And he looks around, he goes, oh, that one?
Teachers that have been indoctrinated have suddenly decided that it's their responsibility to sexualize your children, whether or not it's in the curriculum.
The district says the book read aloud to fourth graders about a trans child explaining their gender identity to fellow kids was never a part of the curriculum. A teacher selected it on their own.
That's just what happens when you look at websites. You don't get all the details on everything. And so a couple teachers utilized it, and we recognized immediately it wasn't in our curriculum. It wasn't under the TEKS.
Experts say kids develop a sense of their gender at age 3. By 5, they'll be displaying gender roles. So they say it's perfectly acceptable to talk to students about the reality of the LGBTQ community around us.
So because a child displays a gender role, you think it's your responsibility, not the parents, to be talking about sexual and gender issues with children between the ages of 3 and 5? I worked in youth ministry for about 12 years, mostly middle and high school students, and we openly discussed with the parents what we talk about with their kids. And many times the kids would open up to us about what was going on at school or in relationships relationships or life with their friends. I never lived in fear because I only had the best interest of the students in mind. We would also talk about difficult discussions with other leaders and volunteers, and one of those recommendations was that if you are an adult leader starting to have an attraction or a conversation relationally or sexually towards a student, stop working with children and seek counsel immediately, and we will help you. But the child's safety is the most important. The only reason why someone would live in fear is if they had an agenda, if it was all about them and not about the safety and well-being of the child.